I sometimes wonder how on earth I maintain any semblance of momentum in my life. There are times I feel like I'm doing well, I'm moving along nicely, and then I'll hear that 276 Nigerian schoolgirls were kidnapped in the night. And it stops me in my tracks. Where are these girls? What can I do? How can I help? For goodness sake, bring back our girls. But then 12 French writers get blown up in their place of business, and I am Charlie, so my energy diverts there. BP has an oil spill, and we've got to save the pelicans. Women in Afghanistan can have their fingers chopped off if they're caught wearing nail polish. I read this, and all of my energy rushes to go and hold them so close and let them know that everything is going to be all right, when I see no immediate evidence that this is so. But I cannot linger, because the Polar Vortex just hit North America. Did you know that? I don't even know what that means, but it concerns me so deeply. We've got this nightly news that is now no longer just nightly or just news, tossing out all kinds of biased, irresponsible, corporately backed teasers, like, is your house making you fat? The popular drug that could be turning you into a compulsive gambler. Are you normal? Thursday at 5. I now have to wait until next Thursday at 5 o'clock to find out if I'm even normal. Or, this was 2 weeks ago, how drones may save your guacamole. What? Don't speak to me like that. I don't need to be tricked into watching a television program. Just say a worthy thing and I'll show up. 5 minutes watching the news is enough to put me head down into a tailspin. But I'll tell you something. It's not just the news that can throw me off. I am quite capable of doing that to myself all by myself. At the start of every single week, I vow that come the weekend, I'm going to make homemade bread from scratch. So that all of the next week, my child will have fresh homemade bread. And can I tell you something? Every weekend comes, and every single weekend goes, and I have no homemade bread for my child. And each Monday morning, as I cut the store-bought crust off of my kid's sandwich, I cut away another slice of my own self-esteem, because I know that no matter how many books I get out there and sell, or how many talks I give, a part of me will always be a colossal failure in my own mind, because my kid doesn't have homemade bread. And because his Halloween costumes continue to be store-bought, even though year after year, I swear I'm going to sew them by hand. Never mind the fact I don't sew. And the one mummy costume I did make came unraveled within 5 minutes of trick-or-treating. I am awash with shortcomings and imperfections, and yet somehow I carry on. I carry on because I figured something out. My uniqueness is my obligation. It is my job. There is something about each of us that is unprecedented, unparalleled, never occurred before, will never happen again. It is our uniqueness. My job, my only job, is to do whatever the heck it takes to figure out what on earth that could possibly be for me, and then spend my days serving it up. I can't fix everything, and I cannot save everyone. And try as I may, I am not a perfect mother. Although it does have to count for something that I can love that little person that grew inside of me for what felt like an eternity with a kind of fierceness I never knew was possible. That has got to counterbalance the fact that I have failed utterly in my attempts to get him to eat his broccoli. Given the urgent needs that exist at every turn in our world, I have come to realize, for the sake of my sanity, I need to be about the business at hand, at my hands. Certainly when something happens in the world, I do what I must. I give of my time, my resources, and then I return to my uniqueness. That's what we get to do. We get to root in our uniqueness. We all come in with certain gifts, skills, talents, abilities. It is my job on a regular basis to unblanket myself from anything that would dilute my gifts. It is my job regularly to grow my no and to galvanize my yes. And when I do these things regularly, it lets my uniqueness become clear and fresh to me, And that's the way I'm going to make my most impactful contribution in this world. So my first step in figuring out what on earth I could possibly do in this world that would be of any significance is to unblanket myself from any behaviors that dilute my gifts. I used to use food that way. I used to use food to stay politely numbed out, topped off, numb. And then I saw a 2020 news program, and it talked about how the average American eats up to 30% more food than they need to on a daily basis. So I decided to do an experiment. I started to eat a little more lightly. And you want to know what happened as I started to eat less food? I got hungry. So hungry. But not for food. I came to find I got a hunger like a rage inside of me. I have a hunger like a rage inside of me to be everything I can possibly be in this lifetime, to go the full distance, catapult like a meteor into whatever greatness is possible for me. When is the last time you felt that fire, that feeling in your gut, in your belly? I might be something, I might do something, I might make a difference. Heck, I might be the difference. I got that feeling, and I was using food to keep it numbed out because I thought if I just opened the lid on that feeling the slightest bit, it would blow me sky high. It felt so big. I used food, but we folks use all kinds of creative things: drugs, alcohol, sugar, sex, social media, shopping, relationships. At every corner in our lives, there are opportunities to dim down and dull out. Drive-through fast food, dead food restaurants on every corner. Endless hours of television watching. The AC Nielsen Company says the average American watches up to 2 months worth of time every year of television. By the time the average American is 65 years old, they will have spent approximately 9 years of life glued to the tube. We absolutely must be self-igniting. So my first step in that is to unblanket myself from anything that would lull me in normalcy or cater mediocrity. The next thing I realized, if I plan on having any kind of traction in this life, I gotta grow a no. I have to grow a no. Every single second, our senses gather some 11 million bits of information from the environment, which the conscious mind has a genius way of filtering down to about 50 processable bits of information. Now, in the same way, if I were to take in, I couldn't function if I were to take in all the data inundating me on a moment-by-moment, second-by-second basis. So I need a clear no to help me delete out anything that would take me off course of my soul's true trajectory. But there are other reasons why we ladies need to have a clear no in our vocabulary. I remember many years ago, I had the thrilling experience of meeting one of the most famous comedians in the whole world, who shall remain nameless. And I remember I felt like the luckiest girl in the world when he picked me, out of a great big room filled with people, he picked me to want to get to know better by inviting me into an abandoned back stairwell of the New York City building we were in. I remember exactly where he was sitting, exactly where I was sitting, as we had the most benign conversation. And then I remember feeling like my head was spinning around when he layered this completely overtly sexual comment. But mostly what I remember is smiling. How I kept smiling. Ever done that? Smile when it doesn't make sense. Smile when it's off. Smile when it is wrong. Smile to be a good girl, to be nice, to be sweet, to be polite, to go along, to get along, to not make waves. Fortunately, his assistant found us in that back stairwell and said he was needed back in the other room. The assistant went back inside, I was to go back in next, and then America's most beloved comedian was to come in behind me. And just as I stepped back out into that crush of people, he leaned in and groped me from behind. And there I was, bright lights on me, surrounded by people, with a smile as frozen on my face as the blood in my veins. You want to know something? Unfortunately, that wasn't even the first time in my life I didn't have a no when I needed one. Unfortunately, tragically, it wasn't even the last time. We need to have, but you want to know something that's even worse than that? What's worse than all of that is that I didn't even know I was worthy of a no. I didn't even know I was allowed to have a no. We need to have a no in our vocabulary, absolutely, so we can delete out anything extraneous, so we can stay on point, on passion. But let us also be damn sure that we are raising our daughters with a mighty no. Let them practice it in the safety of our home so when they get out into this world, they will have it when they need it. And they will need it, yeah? So I have realized in order for me to have any kind of momentum in my life, come what may, I need to regularly unblanket myself from anything that dims me down or dulls me out. I need to grow my no and regrow it and regrow it and regrow it as need be. And then I must galvanize my yes. There is something you do, and you do it like no one else can. It's the way you love. It's the way you think, heal, teach, grow, cook, clean, craft, create, advocate, litigate, delegate, negotiate, invent, mother, nurture, inspire. It's your uniqueness. Your uniqueness is your gift to this world. But more, it is your obligation to humanity. Astrophysicists say if you wave your hand in one place, it has ripple effects that extend out to the farthest star. Your clarity of purpose causes the whole universe to rise up and meet you at the level of your yes. You being you raises the bar for the rest of us. And maybe, just maybe, me being me, means if I can bring an ounce of inspiration here, and then it can shine out to all of us, and then our radiance beams out to everybody around each of us, which shines out to everybody around all of those folks, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, then maybe, just maybe, our hearts and our passions and our fire and our blood and our sweat and our willingness and our tears is enough to blanket this world with something that is good and worthy and true. And maybe, just maybe, next Monday morning, when I have no homemade bread for my child, maybe I'll be a little more gentle on myself. And I will recall the awesome vegan chocolate chip cookies that I did make for his class trip. And when I go to sit in meditation this night, I will draw into my heart every single one of those Nigerian schoolgirls, gone now more than a year. Some just returned, others newly taken, none of it okay, none of it acceptable. And I will ignite within myself a rage of the ages, a rage for every single time in my soul's entire existence that my gender has known what it is to be bullied, bought, sold, told, hurt, harmed, humiliated, dominated, objectified, marginalized. And I will trust that if our astrophysicists are right, I will trust that me being me, but full tilt me, out of the box me, and you being you, the best of you, the creativity of you, the wonder of you, the genius of you, all of us playing at the level of absolutely what we are intended to be in this life, I will trust that between all of us, at least one of us is on the case to save the whales. Someone's cleaning the oceans. Someone is making sure that our sisters in every single corner of this earth have a plan to educate and empower and support all women everywhere. I will trust and know that a whole lot of us are on the case to make sure our sons honor and respect the women in their lives. I'm going to even trust that there is at least one brilliant woman listening right now that actually knows what the heck a polar vortex is and can help us make sure it doesn't crash North America again. Your uniqueness is your gift. My uniqueness is my gift. It is our gift to this world. But more than that, it is our obligation to humanity. And maybe, just maybe, one of you, brave, powerful, intelligent women, could even help me get my kid to eat broccoli. Thank you.